channel started.
What today? Saturday, August 10th, 9th, August 9th, and I was just talking to somebody. So I'm doing Uber, and I was doing Uber yesterday, and a couple got in, and I hear a lady, because she was right behind me, I hear a lady say softly to her friend. She says, "Oh, I was thinking about these. They're nice." And I realized that she was talking about Jeeps.
Enter the roundabout and take the first exit onto Richard Road Southwest.
And so we started talking about this, and I realized that it's been pretty much exactly 2 years since I bought this car, brand new, in July 2023.
Enter the roundabout and take the third exit onto Crouchile Trail Southwest.
And so now it's August, just slightly over 2 years, and I thought I would do a video about, about my kind of like impressions. Did the wrong way. About my impressions after 2 years. So right now I have 47.
3 kilometers, keep right onto AB8 East toward Glenmore TR East using the middle lane.
Yeah, sorry, Uber, I put in my home as my destination, so it's sending me towards my home, and it's also trying to find me rides that would take me to northeast Calgary. But usually it doesn't happen often when you filter rides by destination. But it's a useful feature. But now it's 12 o'clock. I've been on the road since 4:15 in the morning, so it's time to go home and drink some beer, especially since it's my day off. And so yeah, right now I have 47,230 kilometers, which is roughly what, 20,000 miles? Well, more than that probably. So almost 50,000 kilometers. So yeah, like close to 30,000 miles. And
right onto AB8 East toward Glenmore TR East.
And I have to say that I had very little trouble with the Jeep. So it's a Jeep Compass. It's a high, it's a TrailHawk Elite. It's the most expensive Jeep Compass you can buy. So the price in Canadian dollars was in the summer of 23 was about $52,000. And the cheapest one, I think a regular Jeep Compass, like basic, you can buy back then, it was like maybe $42,000. So basically, this is $10,000 more expensive. But they all have the same engine, because for 2023, they discontinued, I think it was 2.4 liter, was it V6 or 4 cylinder? I don't remember, but it was less horsepower, less torque, and then they came up with this for 2023. They came up with a 2 liter turbo 4 cylinder engine, so it's 200 horsepower, and it's pretty fast. And like I said, I'm pretty happy. I wish it would have a bit more torque, but it's okay. It's a nice little car. What I like is that there's so much room in the back, because the rear seats fold down, and of course it's a SUV. Like the other day, I had a guy, doing Uber. A guy had a flat tire when he was cycling, and I show up there and I see a guy with a racing bike, and I could see that his tire is flat. And he confirmed, he says, "Yeah, I have a flat tire." And I said, I'm not sure if it's gonna fit. Like you should have called the Uber XL, like the big, the one that has more than 4 seats. And the guy says, "Oh, I thought I called Uber XL." I said, "No, this is Jeep Compass." But I said, "I have a similar bike, so let's see if it fits." And so we opened the hatch, and I folded the seats, and the bike fit in. Like there's so much room in there. Another time, I had a mother and daughter moving from one house to another house. Like I said, you live here? And the girl said, well, my mother is visiting me from India, but now we've been staying with one relative. Now we're going to the house of another relative. And so they had like 5 or 6 suitcases. And I said, guys, I'm not sure it's gonna fit. So 2 people plus a bunch of suitcases. But somehow it fit. I just folded the rear left side, so the mother sat over there. We were able to put something on the floor in front of each seat, and the girl sat here. And she also put some bags under her feet, under her legs. It's when they got everything out at the destination, I was still surprised how we were able to fit all this. What I'm trying to say is that this is a very helpful and useful vehicle. You can carry a lot of stuff. And of course it's a 4x4 automatic wheel drive. I never touched that knob, even though I can change it. And even with regular tires, all season factory tires, I never had any trouble, even in deep snow, because I was doing Uber in winter as well. And I added snow tires actually for one season, but then when I changed over to regular tires, when the weather became warm, I decided to sell them because these are okay. They do okay. Like, I don't know, it's a front wheel drive car. You just, especially with 4x4, you don't get stuck. And another thing I like is that this Jeep is pretty tall, like the ground clearance. And that was one of the conditions, actually, when the car I had before was a Hellcat, Challenger Hellcat. And when I went to the East Side Dodge here in Calgary, I said, okay, I cannot afford those payments anymore, so give me something small with good fuel economy. And I said, basically, I have 2 conditions. I need something with a 4x4 and something with a high ground clearance. And right away the guy says, how about this Jeep Compass? I never had a Jeep before. I never drove a Jeep before. And so we went for a test drive, and I really liked this vehicle, And so yeah, very useful, very utilitarian. What I don't like is that the fuel economy on the highway, when you are, doing 100 kilometers an hour, the fuel economy is excellent. But this little engine really does not like it when you make it pick up speed between lights. So let's say if I drive on the highway, I can see 8.5, 9 liters per 100 kilometers. But if I start driving city only, that average starts creeping up to 10 liters. And in winter, when it's cold and I drive only in the city, let's say home to work, then work back to home, you will see 11 liters per 100 kilometers, which is not good, but not too bad either. Like when I had a pickup truck, I had a Ram 1500, I had a Ford F-150. In winter, they were getting like 15 liters per 100 kilometers, on average. so it's not too bad. And because it's a 4-door, you know, I can do Uber, or if I want I can do food delivery, but I tried that, so now I stick to Uber and Lyft, just doing kind of like taxi work, and it's very good for that. So premium fuel helps, I find, with performance. It picks up speed better, and that's what the manual says. Premium gas, or petrol as they say in UK, will provide better performance, and it's true. Some people say that it's BS, but I'm telling you, like, they probably never tried it themselves, but as soon as I put in, let's say here, the cheapest is 87 gas, then we have 91, 93, and some stations even sell 94. And so the higher the octane number, the faster the car becomes, you know, like I'm talking about torque and how it picks up speed between lights, you know, going uphill. I can feel it. And so the only two issues I've had since the summer of 23, one, it started doing that after like second week. It was very annoying. The display, the main display, which is in the center over here, which has all the controls for the you know, climate controls, your music, entertainment, radio, and I have Sirius XM satellite radio. So
Directions. In 3 kilometers, keep left to stay on AB2 north toward Deerfoot Trail.
yeah, so occasionally that display would go just black. You know, like you're driving, all of a sudden it goes black, and that's it. So you're stuck with whatever. Oh, hold on.
300 meters, take right exit 251 toward Pika TR using the right lane.
Oh wow, it found me something. So Uber
Take right exit 251 toward Pika TR, then make
Found
a slide
me.
right turn on Barlow Trail southeast.
found me a ride,
300 meters, make a slide right turn on Barlow Trail southeast using the right lane.
which is supposed to go towards my area. But sometimes it screws up. Once I did this,
Slide right turn on Barlow Trail southeast.
and it sent me like in a total opposite direction. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now. Well, there's a couple of truck stops over here. And so yeah, so there was this problem, and then it would go black, or when you start the car, you know, let's say in the morning, you start the car and the screen is black, doesn't come on. Or a third problem, third variety of this was that when you back, right, when you switch your shifter into reverse, of course the display shows you the rear because it has a, of course, built-in camera like most cars now. But then when you stop reversing
600 meters, turn right on 26th Street southeast.
and you put the shifter back into, you know, like forward, the camera freezes and the display still shows that, you know, rear camera view, but it's frozen, and it would stay like that, you know, forever until you turn off the engine, you know. So it was kind of funny. But what they did is eventually, so I went a couple of times to the dealer, and they
Turn right on 26th Street southeast.
and they reinstalled the software. It solved the problem for a week, then it came back again. But eventually, they came up with a recall.
Turn left on 58th Avenue southeast.
Yeah, they came up with a recall. I took the car to the dealer, and that's it. After that, it probably was like 1 year ago, the problem disappeared.
Turn left on
But-
58th Avenue southeast.
But it was really annoying. Hold on, let me, before I forget, I have to cancel Lyft. Oh, and this is very annoying. This auto start and stop. And that's another thing that happened, is that I had a check engine light once in 2 years. And so I went to the dealer for diagnostics, and they said it's your battery. your battery needs replacement. And that's why, and that's why I always try to remember to turn off this stupid start and is it here somewhere? Turn off the start and stop, because it's not good for the starter, it's not good for the battery. But they replaced the battery under warranty, and that's it. So now the last time I was doing oil change, and I'm trying to do them every 6 months. Okay, where is this guy? Pickup on 58th Avenue near Prime Movers Rigging and Industrial Services. Prime Movers. Sorry guys. Prime Movers Rigging Industrial 2040. Prime Movers. Oh, it's over there. It's the next building.
Pickup chase on the right.
And so when I did the oil change, the guy said my oil was a bit too low, that I should do a flush. But when he showed it to me, it was still normal. It was a bit lower, but it was still it was good. Okay, here's my passenger.
Recording. 2 channels started.
So just drop off a guy, and yeah, he was going from where I was, right where I stopped at the Pagan Trail, not too big of a detour, and I took him to this 16 Ave area. So before I was probably 30 kilometers away from my home, now I'm 15 kilometers away.
Turn right on 60th Street Northeast, then
So,
turn right on 26th Avenue Northeast.
yeah, so this time this filter rides by destination worked, and we had a nice chat, because the guy used to be in oil, he worked in oil fields, like had some kind of a big oil rig, and now he drives.
Turn right on 26th Avenue Northeast.
So basically, he's also a driver. He now drives some kind of a rigging apparatus, some kind of a truck with a trailer. And so yeah, we had a nice chat. I told him about my truck. He was asking me how's DOT in the States, so I gave him a couple of examples of tickets I got. So like no mud flaps on the truck, broken ABS, and what was the other one?
In 600 meters, turn left on 68th Street Northeast.
Basically, my message to him was, if they stop you, they will always find something. Either brakes or lights or load securement or something like that. But yeah, nice little fella, I mean, young guy. And that's why honestly, I like doing Uber. I always wanted to be a taxi driver when I was a kid. One of the jobs I was dreaming about. So pilot, a railroad engineer, and one of them was taxi driver. Of course, some people would argue this is not taxi, but to me it's the same, right? You give people rides for money.
Turn left on 68th Street Northeast.
There's no difference. And so yeah, getting back to the Jeep, and so that's annoying thing was the screen was fixed by recall, then the battery was replaced, and so after that I started, each time I get in the car, when I started, first thing I do, I try to remember, I don't remember all the time, but I push this button on the left. Under the display, it says, it has a little semicircle with an arrow and the letter A in the middle, kind of like this, and A, auto start, or actually auto stop. So if this was not pushed right now, it would have shut down the engine, but which is can be a good idea if you're sitting at lights for 3 minutes, but quite often, like you're in the lineup, right? Let's say you're at a stop sign trying to, and there's like 5-10 cars in front of you, and so they move every couple of seconds, and so this stupid thing will shut the engine down 10 times before you get to that stop sign. So it's not saving you any gas at all, because it's just like 1 second, you know, and then it has to start again because I released the brake. And so yeah, it wears out the starter, it wears out the battery, guaranteed. And so most people I know, and I talk to about this, whoever has this feature, they always turn it off. And the only, of course, annoying thing is that you cannot turn it off permanently, like in the settings. I guess they have to do it because of emissions or something, but they give you the manual control, but you have to do it every time you start the car. And so what else? Well, the sensors, I always have this yellow light on, you know, there's two dials, right? The right dial is your speed and the left dial is the tachometer. And on that one, I always have the kind of like a fault message. There's a picture of a car and a little cloud, like explosion in front of the car, and I know exactly what that is. That means that, you know, emergency brake. Let's say if the car senses a pedestrian in the front or something, but that thing never works. It always turns itself off. Like I can go into settings and turn it back on, and it would work for maybe a day or two, and then it would stop. It will beep and say emergency braking is off, and that symbol will come back on. So I haven't stopped, you know, getting frustrated about that. And then also a couple of times what happened was this thing has a adaptive cruise control, but it does not have regular cruise control. And so originally I had trouble with this because, you know, let's say you have dirty sensors, you know, let's say in winter or it's foggy, and so it does not allow you. Let's say you're driving with the cruise control on.
In 600 meters, make a slight right turn on Midnight Boulevard Northeast using the right lane.
Yeah, but then something happens and it beeps and it turns itself off. And I say, okay, I don't want to have adaptive cruise control. Can I get a regular cruise control? No, it doesn't have it. So that's a little bit annoying because, for example, my other vehicle, Dodge Durango, has both. It has adaptive cruise control and there's a separate button for regular cruise control. And so this one, yeah, if the sensors are dirty or something,
Right turn on Midnight Boulevard Northeast.
it cannot use adaptive cruise control, then you're out of luck. There's no cruise control at all. So if this was Dodge Durango, okay, adaptive does not work, I switched to a regular one, right? But I do find that I'm now so used to this adaptive cruise control, I really find it you know, fun to use, because it keeps the distance. Like you can set how far you want to be from the car in the front, right? And so then you set your speed and it slows down or it picks up speed.
Proceed straight to stay on Midnight Boulevard Northeast.
And also what works is the lane.
600 meters, make a sharp left turn on Stony Trail Northeast using the left lane.
What is it called? Lane guidance. So basically when I switch on my adaptive cruise control, this lane assist also gets turned on, and I see basically the sensors are tracking the white lines, and it's super accurate.
Sharp left turn on Stony Trail Northeast.
So basically you don't have to steer. You know, if you're on the road and you're just driving straight, the car will make small adjustments to keep you between the lines, you know, and it's, I find it's really, at first I didn't understand what was happening, but then because I could feel the steering wheel move, you know. I never had this well, I had this on a Hellcat, the one I had before, but I did not. I only drove that one for like 3,000 kilometers, and then I got rid of it because it was too expensive. And so yeah, so this feature is pretty cool. Adaptive cruise control with lane guidance, lane assist. So yeah, I still, 2 years after, I still enjoy this car. And the only, if you saw the older videos, the only mods I did, I wanted to make it a bit louder because I'm used to, like V8, loud engines on a pickup truck or even like Dodge Durango. And so I went to a muffler shop, and the guy says, well, it's a turbo, it's not going to be loud no matter what you do, but he says the best probably sound you will get if we get rid of the mufflers. And I never was a fan of no mufflers on the car because I do believe they serve a purpose. They help with the those pulses, and they help with the performance a little bit. But I did that, and so I drove without mufflers probably 4 or 5 months, and I really didn't like the sound, and so I ordered some Flowmaster Super 10s, and I put them on, one on each side. Not sure why I did that, because this car does not have a real dual exhaust. It just has a single pipe, and then it's fake dual exhaust because it splits in the two in the back, right? So I should have just put one muffler on the pipe where it's single, but you don't want to mess with the pulses, like I find that it's best, after all the mods, I know that it's best to keep the mufflers in the same place where the original factory mufflers were. Like if you want to make your car louder, do not start fooling around and moving the muffler, because this will, when I had the Challenger 392 and I started doing this stuff, without sticking to the original factory locations, I started losing torque. I was losing torque, and so yeah, probably that's why I put the mufflers in the very back where there was one big muffler originally. And so yeah, it's a great car. I like the interior. The interior is pretty fancy, all leather. The steering wheel is super comfortable.
In 300 meters, keep left toward Country Hills Boulevard West using the left lane.
Yeah, the sound system is phenomenal, and I have a Sirius XM satellite radio. I listen to it all the time. And of course,
Country Hills Boulevard West.
I'm in Western Canada, so it gets very cold over here. And so heated seats are not a luxury, they're a necessity. And also another feature that I love is of course most cars now have this, but heated steering wheel. Because if the car sits for a long time in the cold, let's say like in winter, and it's like minus 25, right? If a car sits for, let's say 10-12 hours, then the steering wheel becomes so cold that even if you have gloves, you would still feel the cold. And a couple of times, like I forgot to do it. No, not forgot to do it, but it takes time. Like for the steering wheel to get warm, it takes like a couple of minutes when it's really cold. And so I even put the gloves on, and my fingers were going, numb, because it was so cold. So in harsh climate, definitely this is a great car to have. Heated seats, heated steering wheel, 4x4, high ground clearance. Like I'm not afraid to go anywhere in winter, you know. Like you see on my right, this little Honda Civic. So front wheel drive and super low. So these guys get stuck all the time in winter. Oh, and then of course I have on this car, I have hooks. I have hooks in the back, hooks in the front. So if somebody pays me, I can pull somebody out of a ditch. And so yeah, that was the mod I did with the exhaust. And the only other thing I did was I got that overpriced K&N air filter, because I use them on all my previous vehicles. But on this one, the air box, maybe because it's a turbo, but it's not like clips like normally, you know, like on my Durango, there's 2 clips, and you don't need any tools, and you just open the lid and you put the filter in, or you replace it, whatever. But on this one, there's like 6 or 8 screws, and they're super tight, and takes forever to take them out, you know. And so I did buy that K&N filter, and I cleaned it probably once, and then when I checked it again just before this oil change that I did in July, I checked it again and it was dirty, and I said, that's it, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So let the mechanics deal with these screws when they change the oil. And so I went to the Chrysler dealer, and I said, give me the regular air filter. I said, I have K&N, but I want to go back to the factory. And unfortunately, I did not keep the original one, and so I paid $30 to get back the factory filter. So now it's the one where you throw away, but you don't have to deal with those pesky screws. You don't have to clean it. So those are my, you know, kind of like thoughts I have about this car. But all in all, I love it. And I think it also came with, by the way, Durango didn't have any all-weather floor mats. This one, maybe because it's like a top trim, it came with a real nice all-weather floor mats, and they have they say Jeep on them because it's a Jeep Compass, you know. So yeah, so leather seats, you know, carbon fiber here, like very nice stitching on the dash. Of course, everything is electric mirrors, electric windows, electric seats. Seats go, you know, everything is. And my favorite also, because I'm a bit on a taller side, I always like to have the steering wheel that's telescopic, that goes up and down and in and out. Like some cheap trucks, I had a Ram. When I had the Ram 1500, I think the steering, it went up and down, but it was not telescopic, and so it was really not comfortable, because I was sitting like this, and I could see too much of a hood, you know, which can be annoying. So this Jeep Compass allows you much more, you know, flexibility, depending whether you're tall or short. You can get your seat up, you can play with the telescopic thing, you know, you can adjust your, of course, you know, mirrors, you know, using your electric controls. So yeah, and of course I have remote start, another cool feature, especially in winter when you want the car to warm up. You know, on the night before when you park the car, you just set your settings, like the temperature and stuff like that. And so then when you, in the morning, let's say, and it's like super cold, I just open the door of my apartment, the car is right there, I double tap that remote start, the car starts, and I wait 5-10 minutes. By the time I get in, the steering wheel is warm, the seats are warm, and the car is warm inside. You know, it's not, again, that's not a luxury, that's a necessity in Alberta in winter. And I think that's about it, right? So no major issues, just small annoyances, like probably with every vehicle, but I have no regrets. Still love this little, it's like a little fighter jet, you know, or jet fighter, like a little airplane. Fast and furious. Will go anywhere as long as you have money for gas. So, so that's my take on 2023 Jeep Compass. Thanks for watching.